Hey y'all, I'm Blake Henke, one of the C3 interns this year for y'all, and today I'll be going over one of the Beatitudes, specifically Matthew 5:8, which is, "Blessed are the pure of heart, for they will see God." With this passage, I'll kind of be breaking down the two parts. First, "Blessed are the pure of heart," and then two, "For they will see God," and kind of explaining the difference between, sorry, got it, explaining the difference in the words and kind of the linguistics of it all, and just answering any questions that you could have with that language. So first off, I'm going to go over what purity is, and then kind of specifically purity of heart, and then explain the difference, but also the similarities between purity of heart and purity of spirit, and finally what it means exactly to see God and be His. So first off, what is purity? Purity is defined as blamelessness, guiltlessness, or innocence. All three very great things. I mean, we all want to be clean of everything, but it doesn't only purity in and of itself doesn't relate strictly to desires, but rather like what we say and how our actions are perceived, but also in the intentions behind those actions. A website says purity of heart specifically means to be devoid of baseness. Baseness is baseness is anything that's like lust, greed, hate, or any form of hatred of that sorts. This whole process of purity can be achieved when we let God in to cleanse our hearts, and allow His work to be done within us, but also allow it to influence our actions so that we can demonstrate the gospel to others. Purity in and of itself is not something we can achieve alone. God needs to be let in. It can't be something you're just like, oh, I need to be a good person, so I'm going to do this. It's something that is through intentional pursuit of God and of His word and of the livelihood that He lived on the earth through Jesus. And purity of the heart specifically, like I said earlier, relates to intention and action that is good and whole and not vile or detrimental to the way that we live our life. So, specifically the difference between purity of heart and purity of spirit is, first off, they're not super different. It's more just like the actions and how they manifest themselves throughout our lives. They're both equally important with our relationship with the Father, but specifically purity of the heart, like I said, relates to desires and actions, which relate more to our outward expression of our faith and of our just our actions in general. It's how we let our emotions control our actions. So like, if we are pure of the heart, then our emotions will be pure, and we won't let things debilitate us or hurt us with our actions, because our actions will be pure as our emotions are. And that makes you blessed, because that is living your life for the gospel. That is being what God calls us to be. Purity of the spirit more relates to the initial letting Jesus in and allowing Him to cleanse yourself and make your spirit something that can have room to be pure of heart and like lead to your faith being your own, and that whole process of being cleansed by the Father. So through that, blessed are the pure of heart, that leads to the next part of the sentence saying, "For they will see God." To see God is the promise that God makes to us throughout the entire Bible, especially in the New Testament. Specifically, 1 John 3:2 says, "Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is." So this basically says that if we keep our intentions diligent within our faith, we'll be given the promise of seeing Him and being His. Just like I said, purity of heart, purity of spirit, all can add up to being what allows us into heaven, to be at His right side, as He says in the Bible, and to truly be His children. But sometimes the phrase "seeing us" can feel very empty. It can feel very impersonal, like, oh, like I saw someone in the hallway. Oh, I saw this person while I was driving around. That's not an interaction. That's more just a day-to-day thing. But 1 Corinthians 13:12 specifically says that we will be face to face with Jesus Christ. being face to face means that there is a relationship, and there is interaction. It won't just be a blanket term to say that, like, oh, it's just going to be something that is going on in heaven, but I'll, be doing God knows what. But it truly means that there will be a relationship of true child and father. There will be a true family aspect to being a part of heaven, and God showing to us that he is the perfect father. So, that's basically all I have for y'all today. Thanks for listening in. Next week we're going to be going over, obviously, the next one. Thanks for listening in.